Howdy folks, welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory and today is Wednesday, August. This is August the 2nd, 2017. And I'm sitting here at a Tiki Cafe down at 230 Decatur Street in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm sitting here with Jeff Brown, and a lot of you guys already know Jeff, and you know that he lives in China. But he's here this summer visiting with his American family. And Jeff, welcome back to the Daily Coin.
Thank you. What an honor to see you in person.
Yes, face to face for the first time. So you guys are probably going to hear some background noise, and there's nothing I can do about it. We're doing the best that we can. We're going to keep this fairly short, but I drove all the way down to New Orleans to meet Jeff, and he drove from Oklahoma to New Orleans to meet with me, so we're making it happen. And Jeff, the first thing I wanted to ask you about was the tax structure that you are experiencing here in America versus what you experience in China. Are there like sales tax on goods and services? Do you have income tax? What kind of theft is the China government imposing on you guys that would be similar or different than what we have here in America?
Well, first off, I would have to say that I really don't define what the taxes in Chinese to be theft, because first off, they print their own money, and so they're not paying any interest to the private bankers. They have no sovereign debt in the sense of borrowing money and then paying it to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Secondly, they are very committed to using those tax dollars to building high-speed trains, roads, tunnels, bridges, airports, water, sewage, building new cities, low-income housing.
So they're actually giving you stuff
for the taxes.
For the taxes, exactly. Unlike here where we get terrible roads, crumbling bridges. Explain the difference between what you're experiencing here as far as just the roadways here in America versus what you're seeing now. And now we all know that a lot of the roadways that are in China are new because of all the development that's going on. But there has to be some wear and tear on them, because they've been building out for 20, 25 years at least. So if not 50 years. So there's got to be some wear and tear, but what is it like? What are the differences?
Well, let me just go ahead and point out, contrary to popular belief, I do want to, before I get to the infrastructure, contrary to popular belief, taxes in China are high. Social Security taxes for the company and the employee are close to 60%. Most of that, it's about 40% on the company and 20% on the person. But they have universal health care. They're building hospitals. They're building clinics. They're really providing medical services for the people. So income taxes are not bad, but they have a value-added tax. They have a corporate tax you can't get out of. So taxes are high, but the money is being spent to make it easier for businesses to make money and for people to have a better life, so everybody accepts it. And the reason that everybody accepts it is because the infrastructure is decades ahead of the United States. The most shocking thing for me to come back here is the horrific state of the infrastructure. I mean, internet, roads, bridges, everything, street signs, everything just seems so run down and dilapidated. I even drove down a toll road in Oklahoma and paid $6.50, and it was horrible.
Just for the privilege of driving on the road.
Yeah, exactly. So, I heard on NPR coming down here that there are 55,000 dangerous and dilapidated bridges in the United States. The Chinese stay on top of it. They are adding as much paved roads, as the entire United States interstate system every year.
Wow.
And they're doing it in, out in the boondocks, connecting, rural areas. high powered electrical lines, waterways, ports. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So, I mean, I feel like I came back to like a third world country when I came back here.
Because and you mentioned the internet, and we were at another we were over at Cafe du Monde, and they don't have Wi-Fi, and you were saying that everywhere you go, you're actually bathed in internet. It's free and it's free. Everywhere.
I mean, internet is everywhere.
I mean, China. But it is on lockdown. Now, to be fair, they have the Chinese firewall.
Yeah, they have the Chinese firewall. Yeah, but I mean, that's a whole other discussion. But
yes,
we have a firewall here. I call it the Great American Firewall or the Great Western Firewall, but it's just a different kind.
Oh, you mean like the CIA and MI6?
And but yeah, in China there are 900 million people who get online every day. And there is wireless service available almost everywhere for free, and so it's just a huge frustration here. It's balkanized. There's huge gaps. Even 3G and 4G, there's just gaps everywhere. And so in China, that just doesn't happen. I mean, they have the largest 3G network in the world, the largest 4G network in the world, and they now already have the largest 5G network in the world. And they spend billions of dollars a year on fiber optics, towers. It's just unbelievable to go over there and see what it's like.
And we were paying for. I was paying for the parking for my car, and you said that you were using Union Pay, and that Union Pay has been accepted everywhere that you have used it here, which is the Chinese equivalent of
Visa.
Yeah. And it's probably a lot bigger. Now, that is, Union Pay, I believe, is looking at cryptocurrency as well. They're not looking at Bitcoin, but they're looking at building out. I think that, excuse me, I think that they, like Russia, are either working with or talking to the guys at Ethereum and are building out some type of infrastructure. And hummus and tabbouleh just arrived. Thank you. And are you staying on top of that situation as far as the cryptocurrencies? Isn't Union Pay working with someone?
Well, actually, it's the Bank of China. I mean, the actual People's Bank of China is looking into their own cryptocurrency to head off any potential conflict with the West and the United States, and obviously with groups like Union Pay, WeChat, Alibaba, and all these other payment platforms that we have in China. I predict that within 5 years, China will have a cryptocurrency, and it will be probably linked with the one that the Russians are using.
I would agree with that, and I mean, it's no secret that Putin met with the developer of Ethereum about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and they are now working with. And what a lot of people may not know, and you didn't even know this earlier when I explained to you that the Federal Reserve, or not the Federal Reserve, but there is a central bank cryptocurrency called the Utility Settlement Coin. You had never heard of that?
I never heard of that either. I'm going to look it up after we interview today.
It's that to me is the tell for where this whole thing is headed. I mean, if the technology is already in place for the central banks to have their own cryptocurrency, then the digitized world, digitized currency is where we're headed, period. And enslavement for all. So,
well, if I had to take my chances on the on American banks or Chinese banks, I would prefer to have the Chinese banks taking it over, because they actually are concerned about the opinions and ideas that the citizens have of them, and if they did something really ridiculous or oppressive, there would be a huge uproar, and I don't think the people would allow it to happen.
You're talking about in China?
Yeah.
Well, they're motivated, whereas the people here in the States aren't very motivated to stand up and be counted against any of the oppressors that are out there. I mean, you've got, actually the right wing, the Antifa, they've been better at standing up and saying, by God, we're going to be counted, and much better than the conservative right wing. I mean, you would think that they're not even existent. I mean, they don't exist. So
there are 300 to 500 public demonstrations and protests every day in China. So democracy is alive and well over there. If they feel like they're getting screwed, they go out on the streets and protest.
You said democracy was alive and well in communist China?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Who would have thought? 300 to 500 protests a day.
Yeah, a day.
So, but we don't ever hear about these. We don't ever hear about that over here. But then again, we aren't hearing anything about, Seth Rich on the mainstream media or any of the other nonsense that's going on with the Hillary crime machine. So I'm not surprised we're not hearing about
what's going on in China.
Exactly. We have Kardashians to report on. Well, what else did you want to share with us, Jeff?
The other thing, my other great impression that I had was, number one, the infrastructure is just frighteningly horrible here. It's just so bad. The other thing is that I've been watching a lot of CNN, MSNBC, Fox, etc., and it's just difficult to understand that if you're over here and don't look through it or around it. The propaganda here is it's so bad, and it's just so blatant, and it's just so
thick as thieves, isn't it?
It's just awful. And even NPR, I was listening to NPR, and they're saying, Crimea was annexed by Russia. No, it was not. They voted 96% to go to Russia. They were talking about 900 Russian tanks in the Ukraine. No, those are Ukrainian tanks that were bought by Ukraine from Russia.
Well, Russia and Crimea have been tied together for, 200 years?
Well, no longer than that. It goes way back. It goes several hundred years.
So, and they speak Russian in Crimea.
Yeah, about 90% of them.
90%, okay.
They are Russian.
And the other 10% are speaking English?
Ukrainian. The other 10% are the Americans at the embassy there.
Exactly.
But, and it's just Assad, Bashar Assad in Syria is evil. There are NPR. This is supposed to be the enlightened media outlet talking about the fact that it's no longer even assumed or possible. Russian meddling in the elections. It's now confirmed. They're just saying because of the Russian meddling in the elections. So Adolf Hitler was right. He wrote in Mein Kampf that the big lie works, and that the big lie is what it takes to manipulate the people, and that's exactly what we have here in the United States. They just lie and lie and lie and lie until it becomes accepted as fact.
Wasn't it Goebbels that said, if you tell a lie long enough, that it becomes truth?
Exactly.
And that's what we're having right now. Because they've been without a shred of evidence.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, people coming out and saying, well, there's nothing to that, including the people that were propagating it the most, which was CNN, came out, and their producers even actually said, there's nothing to this.
Yeah, I got caught saying
and there is no Russian collusion. It's as they described it, as the producer of the propaganda pieces said, it's a nothing burger. This is the guy that's producing the pieces for CNN. Yeah. He actually said that.
He got caught off mic.
Big time.
Yeah. I know he got tricked into an interview.
He wasn't tricked. He was just hanging out, just like you and I are hanging out right now. It's just, but this was, you and I had set this up, whereas the other guy, they were just having a casual conversation. And if I were in a position, if I were in that type of position, I would certainly guard my words a lot better than this person did.
Mm-hmm.
which just goes to show that they don't really care anymore about who knows. That it's nothing more than propaganda. I mean, that proves it because this guy's just having casual conversation as if, it's bar talk to him. I mean, how do you have bar talk about producing propaganda? And you're the producer for a global television station. How do you do that? You don't, or you don't care, and that's what I see anyway. That's the way that I see it. So.
And then the other thing, and I'm going to write about all this when I get back to China, is you just don't realize it until you get out of the country and then come back. Is just the overwhelming nationalism and jingoism here. It's just everywhere, and it's just overwhelming. Just everywhere you go, we were in New York. We went to a Yankees game, and they trot out some soldier who has been to Iraq Desert Storm, and Iraq Freedom, and Panama, and all these other imperial exploits. And and the flag, and the POWMIA flag, and the Purple Heart flag, and everywhere I turn, it's frightening how nationalistic and jingoistic Americans are. They don't even realize it, and how the military and our imperial adventures have just been seamlessly melded into our daily lives, and I'll tell you the difference in China right now. There is a bill being proposed in the national legislature to ban the national anthem and to ban the presentation of the Chinese flag at all non-official public visits.
Wow.
That's how concerned they are about nationalism in China. And here it's everywhere. I mean,
Well, they want, from my perspective, though, Jeff, I mean, I see what you just described as being, as a training tool to teach people to love their oppressor. They're just teaching Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, that's what it is. That's what I see anyway.
Big brother.
I mean, because if you watch the local news in particular, they'll prop up these stories about, this local police officer does good, and he does this, and he does that, and he got Aunt Betsy's cat out of the tree again. But they never show you where they tied a teenager to a chair and tased him. They won't tell you that story, even though it actually happened, and the Free Thought Project reported on it. I mean, you never hear about that unless you go to, Jeff's website or my website, or you go somewhere that's not a propaganda, an extension of the propaganda machine.
Yeah. So those are the things that really stick out for me while I was here. Just the infrastructure, both physical and non-physical, the nationalism, and the propaganda. It's overwhelming when you come back. When you come back after 2 or 3 years, 3 years like I have, and to see it, and it's unsettling, it's disturbing, and it's hard to believe, that this country's, the purported, world leader and
free.
And
don't forget the freedom part.
Supposedly free, and it's frightening, and I actually feel freer and less encumbered by the Chinese government than Rory, I am scared to death to be pulled over by a cop here.
Yes, you should be.
I'm just frightened, because I've already got my script. I do not have a gun in the car. I'm going to get my driver's license out before.
With my right hand, and my right hand, as Richard Pryor used to say, my right hand is going into my left pocket to get my driver's license.
and I already told my wife, put your hands on the dashboard, because they'll blow your head away. They'll blow you away.
They will kill you.
Exactly, in a heartbeat.
And they will walk away free.
Exactly.
No, I'm sorry. They won't walk away. They won't just walk away free. They will get a paid vacation 2 weeks while they investigate why this person was able to get away with murder on the street.
So I've been really worried about getting pulled over. I'm just scared to death.
Your stay here is just for a short while longer. So, I hope that this.
Carefully.
And I hope that this was kind of a bright spot for your trip.
Oh, meeting you in person has been a terrific pleasure, Rory.
It really has been for me as well, Jeff. And hopefully the cops will leave you alone. And the TSA won't grope you too much when you get back on the plane to go home and or strip search your wife, But we've been speaking with Jeff Brown, and you can find all of Jeff's work over at ChinaRising.puntopress.com. Jeff, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rory.
We'll talk with you soon.
Bye-bye.